Good morning, Pallavi ma'am. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, ma'am. Shall we start now?
Yes, we can start.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. A very warm greetings to our respected principal, Dr. N.S. Vebare sir, faculty members, and all the enthusiastic participants joining us from across the country. Welcome to the seventh session of the National Webinar Series on Regulatory Affairs, proudly organized by the IQAC of Dr. D. Patil College of Pharmacy, Akurdi, Pune, in association with APTI. To lead today's critical discussion, it is my distinct privilege to introduce our distinguished guest speaker, Ms. Vaishali Pokharkar, ma'am. Ma'am is highly dynamic and versatile regulatory affair expert with over 15 years of rich experience in the pharmaceutical sector. Currently serving as a manager of regulatory affairs at Sidler Remedies Private Limited, she specializes in handling the complete end-to-end life cycle management of drug products and drug master files. Her extensive career spans across critical international territories, including ROW, LATAM, Asian, Africa, and CIS markets. She is heavily skilled in navigating complex common technical documents and Asian common technical dossier submissions, bioequivalence portfolios, and managing the relationships with the global health authorities. With her deep strategic insights into the evolving regulatory landscapes, we are incredibly fortunate to have her share her expertise with us today. Before I hand over the platform, a quick request to all the participants. Please keep your microphones muted and videos turned off to ensure a smooth, uninterrupted session. You can drop any questions in the chat box and we will address it during the question and answer. Vaishali ma'am, we are honored to have you here. The virtual floor is all yours. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Jyotsna. So, first and foremost, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude towards your honorable principal and the faculty members and the organizing committee of the National Webinar Series on such a dynamic and rapidly growing domain that is the regulatory affairs. So I sincerely congratulate to all your efforts you are taking for these young professionals who are going to enter in this corporate world, and this national webinar series is really recommendable. So in today's highly educated global pharmaceutical industry, that is regulatory affairs, is a critical but yet dynamic and functional domain, because as you all know, regulatory affairs who bridges the gap between the science, then the quality and the patient compliance, and yet gives the business growth. So all those young professionals who are currently pursuing the degree or doing the post graduations, I am welcoming you all in this webinar series. And today my project or my topic is related to drug master file. So organizing such a knowledge sharing platform for generation next of these pharmaceutical professional is really recommendable, and I want to say you that you are really fortunate that you are taking a education in the such a kind of a university or such a kind of college where each and every faculty member is they giving their 100% to ensure that whenever you complete your academic career and you enter into this market, you will be overall experienced with all the technical norms. So I am honored and thankful for part of this prestigious webinar, and it is my privilege to interact with all you people. So I hope this 2 hours journey will be more professional, and I can share practical insights throughout which I gained from my career of over 2 decades, and it will be helpful for all of you. So over next 2 hours, I will attempt to provide the practical understanding of the regulatory affairs, DMF preparations, what are the currently industry norms, and the expectations of the industry, and the global pathways of submission of those files, and the career opportunities related to these dynamic professions. So thank you for the brief introduction. And I will also like to add what is currently I am doing in this my overall journey of 2 decades in this corporate world. So basically, I am a pharmaceutical graduate and currently serving in a pharmaceutical regulatory affairs profession with around 19 years of experience, which is nearly 2 decades in this corporate world. And in my professional career, I mainly deals with the regulatory submissions of the product, that is I mean to say finished products, then drug master files, which will we will come across what exactly it is, what are their types, how we are submitting this, and what why this DMF is important in the regulatory affairs professionals. So we will come across on these slides and all these topics later on. So I am dealing in the submissions of this finished product dosage form, drug master files. Also I am into planning and execution of the submission of those documents to various regulatory authorities, then life cycle management of these products, and also having what we can say the R&D department. I am also handling to take over the actual preparation of the active pharmaceutical ingredients, what exactly we need to do the preparation of this chemical molecule. So I am also involving in this R&D scenario, and I am into in planning and execution of the regulatory strategies and the business strategies to get the approvals from various registrations authorities to get our product approvals. So in this my professional, we need to have a support from various cross-functional teams. Like you need support from each of your faculty members or teachers who are dealing in various subjects. Same way, when you enter in the pharmaceutical industry, you just not means when you are working under the regulatory affairs department, then at that time it is not related to just a particular one department. You need to cross communication, or you have to daily communicate with the various cross functional teams involved in that pharmaceutical industry. Like you need to communicate with the R&D people, you need to communicate with the quality control authorities, quality assurance department, production departments, and also the business development persons. So I look forward to an interesting and fruitful session of this 2 hours. And I hope that in today's discussion, I will support or contribute positively to all of your academic and professional growth. So moving to next, our what exactly we are currently today discussing about our DMF preparations. I would like to take you. So today we will discuss on the drug master file. Just 1 second. Is it everybody can see the slides? Is the screen is means everybody can take a look at the slides? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. The
Yes,
slides are
ma'am.
visible.
Okay, okay. So today's topic is drug master file, which is called as a DMF. So we are currently will go through in superficial studies about the preparation of those DMFs and the global submission strategies. So next, in this we will move forward. There is some issue I am getting. Just 1 second. I think there is some problem here in network. Just hold on. Now it's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in this today's session, we will try to guide a comprehensive guide to the DMF preparation. What is the ECTD technicalities for these submissions and the global regulatory strategies we are involving for these submissions of the DMFs in the various international regulatory authorities side. It's it is showing some internet connectivity here. Sorry for the disturbance. Why it is? I am unable to sharing those slides. I don't know why it is showing this kind of thing. Just give me 5 minutes. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
You're audible.
But I am unable to share those slides. I don't know why. What is exactly the reason? Just give me 5 minutes.
Yes,
There is showing some connectivity issues. So in this slide, we will see a comprehensive guide for the DMF preparation, ECTD technicalities, which we are going to use for these submissions, because nowadays, because of coming this AI generation, various stringent regulatory authorities are willing to file these DMFs through various ECTD softwares. For those young professionals who are want to make a career in the submissions of the DMF must be aware about all these softwares. So we will come to on those software in next slide. So moving on to next. In this session, mainly we will focus on the purpose and the time of DMFs. Means what are the types of DMFs and why there is a necessity of this drug master file to be included in the regulatory affairs department. As a regulatory affairs department is a very vast profession. So what is exactly the need of these DMF preparations that we will look into. Then we will discuss about the DMF structure, its requirement, what are exactly the points we need to highlight in the drug master files. Then are there any country specific DMF requirements? If yes, then what are these requirements? Then what are the global submission strategies we will cover in this session. Then we will also understand the regulatory expectations. Means regulatory expectations means there are various countries. So each country has their some certain guidelines. So what exactly they want from our drug master file, what they are currently giving focus on, which documents are majorly importance for those regulatory authority bodies that we will discuss. Then what are the common deficiencies? Deficiencies in the sense whenever you submit any file or whenever you submit any document to any health ministry, they thoroughly check those documents because your document gives the brief information about what exactly your product is. And as we are into the profession, that profession is mainly dealing in the humans. We are not doing just cosmeceuticals. We are actual into the pharmaceutical industry where we are giving medicines and these medicines are taken by the common people. So the various health ministries are more stringent and more uh, means they are review your each and every document thoroughly. So there are some common deficiencies they have observed all over the world. So these deficiencies we will include in these slides. Then what is the life cycle management of any product that we will discuss. Then what are the practical challenges and the case studies. And also we will take a quick session of the question and answers. If you have any doubts in this 2 hour session on any of the slide and you want to discuss that slide more or you have any questions, then we will discuss those slides. Okay. So moving to next, what is drug master file? As you know, means theoretically, you know the definition of the drug master file. That is, it is a confidential document. It is submitted to the regulatory authorities. Regulatory authorities means there in our world, there are three, four more stringent regulatory authorities which are having the charge of all over the world. They have their separate guidelines for each and every documentation. Like US FDA, they have separate guideline for the DMF submission. EDQM, which is mainly dealing in the Europe countries, they have their separate guidelines. TGA, which is mainly dealing in the Australia, they have their separate guidelines. And all these stringent regulatory authority means SRA, stringent regulatory authority. Because as you know, in the current, Donald Trump is handling the world, we can say. So US FDA, we take it as a standard. So same way, European countries also have their standards. Health Canada is also have their separate standard, and Australia is also having their separate standard. There are some GCC countries, Gulf countries. They are also now coming as a stringent regulatory authority now. And other than these stringent regulatory authorities, which are giving a standard SOP for the submission of all those documents, there are some ROW countries. What is ROW? ROW is the rest of the world. Expecting means they didn't involve these stringent regulatory authority countries. There are the rest of the world, like you can say East African countries or the MENA regions or some our Asian countries. Then these countries comes under the rest of the world. And these industries, these countries also having their health ministries. Like in our India, we have CDSCO, we have the same way in Myanmar, in Philippines, in Latin America. Each and every country has their own health ministries. So these health ministries give us the guidelines that if you want to export in our countries, as being India, we are playing a major role or we are playing a major share of exporting the pharmaceutical business overall the world. So our products go to US FDA also, our products go to European countries, our countries also, and we are also giving like more what we can say the countries like Haiti, African countries where these peoples are not more educated and these countries are not more developed like our India, but still we are also exporting our products to these countries. So these all these countries comes under ROW, that is ROW, rest of the world. So these countries also having some guidelines related to the submission whenever you are want to export your finished products in their countries. Okay. So mainly now in this session we are mainly giving focus on the drug master file. So drug master file it comes for the API. Then what is API? API is the active pharmaceutical ingredients. Active pharmaceutical ingredients, its name itself suggests that it is the active ingredients. Means when you are taking Dolo tablet or you are taking any pain relief tablet like a paracetamol tablets. So in that paracetamol tablet, paracetamol comes as a API and other ingredients come as a raw materials or the excipients. So the drug master file is of API, it is also of excipients, it is also of packaging materials, and it mainly also deals in the manufacturing process controls and the stability. So we will go into deep in each type of DMF, but majorly when you are working in the regulatory affairs profession in the corporate world, mainly our focus is on the API DMF submission. We will come next on that. So moving to next. So the critical manufacturer in the sense the finished product manufacturer means the paracetamol tablet, the XYZ company who is preparing the who is manufacturing the paracetamol tablets. But for manufacturing paracetamol tablets, they need to take the API, that is paracetamol, from someone who is manufacturing that. So this DMF allows the finished drug product manufacturers to provide the confidential product information to regulatory authorities without disclosing details to their customers. It, it will look complicated, but I will explain you. The DMF is prepared by the API manufacturer, and this DMF is their intellectual property, means it is their R&D project, how they are making that chemical. So they prepare that drug master file and they submit it to the health authority rather than they submit to the finished product manufacturer, because finished product manufacturer produces various type of finished products, so it may use that their R&D data. So what the API manufacturer does, they prepare their drug master file and they submit it to the various health ministries. So it is their legal and technical shield. And when the XYZ manufacturer of the finished product, say ABC Pharma, that ABC Pharma wants to register their paracetamol tablet in US FDA or in European countries, or say in Myanmar or Philippines. So what they when reach to the any API supplier or API manufacturer, like any industry who is manufacturing the paracetamol, that manufacturer will not give them whole data. They will do them with the agreements and everything, but they do not disclose them all their intellectual property, that is called as a DMF. They will submit it to the health authority, and that health authority will give us the letter of authorization, and it is called as the legal and technical shield. So the API manufacturer who manufactures this API has their technical or their R&D data safe with the health ministries. Then second is the generic drug approvals, means where the DMF play important role, as there are various companies who are manufacturing the paracetamol tablets. So every time they goes to that XYZ supplier and ask them ki we need to submit our dossier to US FDA and we want to take API from your site. So give us the DMF. So this is not the case happens, because it will always increase the load of the health ministry, because they get the application for the paracetamol tablets from all over the world from various companies. So every time they don't do that similar kind of work to cross checking of these DMF files. So what there is a one process that API vendor once gives their DMF to the US FDA. US FDA allocate them one number, and the finished dosage form or finished product manufacturer, they have the agreement with that API manufacturer and they get directly that number. And on that basis, when they submit their finished dosage form or finished product dossier, paracetamol dossier in the CTD or ECTD format to the US FDA, they just need to mention that yes, we are in agreement with this API vendor and their DMF is already approved at the US FDA site and this is our LOA. So kindly take that information. Only the open part of DMF information is given in that registration dossier. So this will ease the process at the what we can say in US FDA site also, at the API site also, and also beneficial for the finished product manufacturer also. So all these three members need not to again recheck and review of the each of the documents. Are you getting my point? So this kind they just ease the process flow, minimize the time period which is required for the registration. So they can get the more approvals in minimum time period. And where in this process regulatory affairs plays an important role, because it is act as the first step in mastering the field, where the technical knowledge meets the legal strategy and ensure that the common person who is the end user or who is the end person who is getting the final finished product have a accurate quality and the means qualitative product which can gives them the assurance that yes, this medicine which they are taking for any pain or for fever will prepare is prepared from the API vendor material which is taken, which is actually approved by the US FDA, and the site where the finished product is manufacturing is also having all the regulations and accreditations as per the US government, and this product is very safe to take. Understands? So this is how the DMF plays important role in the finished product formulation when you are registering. So moving to next, why exactly the DMF exists? What is the DMF role? As we mentioned in the previous slide, that DMF is an important part, because whenever any finished product you are taking, any person or any patient who takes the medicine, he takes the medicine to get the relief from the pain he currently having. So that API, who is mainly very much in having the indication on that pain or the whatever the person is suffering from. So DMF of the API is very much important. It is protecting IP and the quality. Then what is IP? IP is the intellectual properties. Or intellectual property means what? Any API manufacturer who prepares that drug master file. So he has done a vast R&D for preparation of this chemical. So there are hundreds of people who are doing research how this chemical should be prepared, which active material we should be used, what are the analytical testing parameters, how we can define that yes, this white powder we are showing to the people, it is actually paracetamol powder, but how the person understand that yes, this white powder is paracetamol only. So they need to do that analytical testing method development also. So it is not that sometimes there are USP, IP, BP, then international pharmacopoeias. All these pharmacopoeias have given the monographs, but there are certain chemicals which are new chemicals. So there is no official pharmacopoeial methods for that. But still, like last in 2020, we all the world suffered from the COVID. At that time they just given the H1N1 and all these whatever they invented, the R&D people invented various new chemicals. So these chemicals were not officially in any pharmacopoeia. So it is the brain used by the R&D peoples to find out that chemical which is exactly acting upon that certain indications. So for preparation of that DMF, they need to give the exact analytical, what we can say, analytical testing methods for finalize those things. So it is all comes under as a IP, intellectual property of that particular API vendor. So whenever those API vendors submit their DMF to any health ministry, it is the health ministry's responsibility to have the confidence, to give the confidence to that API, yes, your CMC, that is the chemistry and manufacturing and controls, all your uh, informative or all your R&D data is available with us, is being a confidential, and we are not going to share with all those important things I am talking about, ki how that API is manufactured. We are not going to share that close part of DMF with any of the finished product manufacturer. This confidence that FDA gives to the API vendor when API vendor submit their DMF to that XYZ Health Ministry. Then, after submission of that DMF, it is efficiently streamlined for the customer. How efficiently streamlined? As I explained you, it is not possible for any health ministry to do the inspection of each and every API vendor, because in US FDA, in EDQM, in TGA, whatever stringent regulatory authorities are, they just don't believe on our paper submission. They come at actual to our factory to inspect. They inspect our facilities. They check our machines, equipments, the personnels, the quality personnels, the documents, what you are giving in the DMF or in your registration dossiers. Are these informations are correct? They check at the site. There are people from the various health ministries. They comes for audit. It is called as a inspection or factory audit. They comes for 2 to 3 days. They go to each and every department, like quality assurance department. They will go and check each and every documents which we are giving under the DMF or in the registration dossiers. They are also checking the clinical, non-clinical information you are providing to them. On that basis, they give you the acceptance that yes, your facility is up to the mark, it is CGMP compliant, and now you can submit your documents to our ministries. So they are just do the this inspection only once. After that, they comes after 2 or 3 years, they comes for the renewals. So in that period, that API manufacturer can submit their paracetamol API to hundreds of finished drug formulation manufacturer. So it will ease that US FDA site also, at API site also, and the finished product manufacturer site also, because it is not need for the US FDA people to come every time to visit that facility. If from they are getting paracetamol API DMF for registration dossier is used means submitted by 3 or 4 finished formulation, means the one factory present at the Pune, they are also filing the dossier. One facility is at Patti, they are also filing the registration dossier for the paracetamol tablets, and one facility at Kolkata, it is also filing the registration dossiers at US FDA for the paracetamol tablets. But all these locations and all these facilities are using the API, that is the paracetamol, from the one XYZ pharma only, that API vendor. So US FDA is not going to again ask all these three Kolkata, Bhakti and Pune facilities people that from where you have taken the material, is that material is compliant to the CGMP norms. No, they are not going to check, because they will directly, they have already approved that site XYZ Pharma. So just they will check with you that yes, Pune facility has that LOA with them from that XYZ Pharma, or XYZ Pharma has the agreement with them, and they are allowing us key share their DMF with these finished formulations. Are you getting? So in this way, this DMF exists and protecting IP and quality. So it is eases the registration process. Next, why do the active pharmaceutical ingredient manufacturers, we can call it as a vendors or API suppliers or API manufacturers, submit a DMF? So if, as I will give you a small example, when any lady prepares food, suppose we need to prepare rice, so or rice, or we can say idli. If we want to make a idli, and if that idli should be soft, it should be spongy, then you need to take that rice from very good quality. If you use the rice of any quality, your idli will be not that much spongy. So the main part or main ingredient of the idli is rice. So we need to take care of that from where you are getting that rice. So same way, the API manufacturers submit their DMF because they want to make a business with the stringent regulatory authorities, and as the API is the integral part of any finished drug formulation, because that API gives relief to the end user, that is the patient who is suffering from the fever. And he goes to doctor and he asks, yes, doctor, I am suffering from a fever, or there is a dental pain, or there is a muscle pain, and kindly give me any tablet which eases my pain. So doctor will simply prescribe him, for you are suffering from a fever, take this Dolo 500. That patient takes Dolo 500, but his fever doesn't reduces, though he has taken 6 doses. Then he will directly complain to the doctor, doctor, it is not it is not useful for me. This medicine is not okay. It is not easing my pain. So what is the, then doctor will, whenever there will next patient will come, doctor will prescribe him other brands. So the business of Dolo will be then stopped, no? And in various stringent regulatory authority countries like US FDA, Europe, there are certain means, you know about the pharmacovigilance term, right? They are given one number where the end user, if he has any doubts on this finished drug formulation he is using, means suppose he opened the tablet from that blister and he found that that tablet is broken, or there is a capping, or there is some spots, so he can directly complain on that website that yes, I taken this blister, this is the batch number, this is the manufacturer, and it is faulty material. So US FDA bans those companies, and ultimately the finished drug formulation who prepared that paracetamol tablet, they do the research why it is failed, why there is tablet cracking or tablet capping is observed. So they do their internal testing and research. So in that case, they will again check with the API manufacturer. Are you given us the API for paracetamol powder which we have taken from you? Is it not up to the mark? That's why when we compress our tablets, we got this kind of results. So ultimately, all these will result into the shutdown of the business of the API manufacturer. So API manufacturer, whenever submit a DMF, he need to take utmost care for manufacturing process and the confidential information about how he is manufacturing his product. So he should give a detailed information about the quality of the product, manufacturing process, how the control means analytical procedure he are using for finalize the testing of his finished product. Because for any drug master file or any DMF vendor, manufacturer, their finished product is that powder, no? Paracetamol is their finished product. So they are taking utmost care and they provide the regulatory authorities and actual detailed information about these all these norms. And they also enables various multiple pharmaceutical companies to reference their same API information, but they didn't disclose all the information as I previously mentioned. Because if someone, anybody gives the detailed information how he is making this final product, paracetamol tablet, then other companies may use or may taken his formula and they also prepare same kind of same quality of materials. So these some close part of information is never disclosed by the company, by the health authorities. I will give one practical example. Like a company called XYZ Pharma makes a paracetamol API. So instead of sharing its manufacturing process with every pharmaceutical company, XYZ Pharma submits a DMF to the FDA. Then the ABC Pharma, who is based at Pune, wants to make the paracetamol tablets. It can refer to the DMF in the NDA or ANDA format. So he goes to the US FDA And first filing the dossier to US FDA, ABC Pharma need to have a confidential agreement and commercial agreement with the XYZ Pharma that yes, we are going to use your information, which is already registered at US FDA portal for the paracetamol DMF. We want to use your information and filing our the dossier. So they finalize the confidential agreement, commercial agreement. On that basis, the XYZ Pharma issues one letter of access or letter of authorization to the ABC Pharma ki yes, you can use our information which is already there at the FDA portal, and you can submit your finished product dosage form. Are you getting? This is the way how the DMF submission goes. So moving to next, it's the types of the DMFs. So you can say on the means you can see on the screen that US FDA, as we are means in the pharma world, US FDA considered as a standard. So you can see everywhere I have mentioned as a US FDA kind of thing. So US FDA categorizes DMF based on its content, helping the regulatory professionals to select the correct type to avoid the rejection. So there are generally 4 types: type 2, type 3, type 4, and type 5. You wonder why there is not type 1. We will come to on that. But major is now we will just see what is the type 2. So type 2 DMF is describes or covers the drug substance. What is, I mentioned that API, active pharmaceutical ingredient. And this is the type 2 DM is majorly used in the regulatory affairs professionals or registration dossiers. So in that just not comes the API part, but also the drug substance intermediates, their materials used in the preparations. The type 3 is the covers the PM. PM means the packaging material. Packaging material means whenever you take a finished tablet, that is paracetamol tablet, which comes in the blister form. So that aluminum foil, PVC foil, or it comes in the HTP container, small bottles, then that glass bottle, HTP bottles, these containers, the information which we give under those packaging materials, this information comes under the type 3. Why it is important? Because it is directly come in contact with the finished product which we are taking. Understood? So there is a very much stringent rules for the packaging materials. If you buy that chips packet, why the chips packet comes in that aluminum foil, or what we can say, it is a 3-layered packaging material. The Balaji's packaging materials and other which comes in the 5 or 10 rupees. When you compare those material, you will come to know the thickness and the quality of the material Balaji is using and other companies are using. So it is very much important when we are taking any finished product and we are eating it, which is going to in your bloodstream, it should be packaged well. So type 3 EMF mainly deals in the packaging materials. Then comes on the type 4. As we are discussing last 15-20 minutes related about the API, but what about the excipients? There should be also excipient should be at par, which we are using. Because many a times when you can, not every single tablet, capsule or liquid suspension comes in a single color. You can see variations in the colors. You can see variations in the flavors. Why it is so? Because there is a related to patient compliance, differentiation in the brands. So these colorants, flavors, these and excipients are used. But it should be also at par, like the API. So this information comes under the type 4 DMF. Then type 5 DMF is the FDA accepted, that we have covered almost each point related to the finished dosage form. Which API we are using, which packaging material we are using, which are the excipient we are using. But if there is any other information related to the toxicological information, clinical information, manufacturing information, that if FDA wants, means any manufacturer wants to give that extra information asked by the FDA, that comes under the type 5. It is very less used. Mainly, majorly focus is given on the type 2, type 3, and type 4. So moving to next, what about the type 1? So type 1 drug master file was historically used by the US FDA to get the detailed information about the facility where the API or excipient or the packaging material is being manufactured. It is about that manufacturing sites, facilities, how they operating the procedures, which personnel are using there. Are these personnels are professionals or they are just using the casuals? Is their SOPs are in place? Everything is covered under that type 1. But FDA formally discontinued this type 1 DMF in 2000. But they keep that numbering retained, means they continue with the type 2, type 3, type 4. They just don't discontinue the remaining, so to avoid the confusion. So still we have the type 2 DMF for the API, type 3 DMF for the packaging material, type 4 DMF for the colorant, excipient, and the flavoring. Moving to next, it is the DMF structure and content and requirements. So if we get into know about the registration dossiers, which we compile and submit to the various authorities in the ECTD format, it has a 5 modules, right? Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, Module 4, and Module 5. So module 1 is the regional administrative information, means various health ministries have their own guidelines, own understandings, and own they have their own requirements. No, for like US FDA, they want SNPC in separate format. They want patient information leaflet. They want package insert. They want mock-up. They want artwork. They want free sale certificate. They want certificate of pharmaceutical products. They want various administrative documents, various registration forms to be filled in the module 1. Whereas EDQMs or European, they will agree on the COPP. They will not ask you about the free sale certificate. They will not ask about the various registration forms. They will have only 2 forms. Whereas US FDA have the 4 covering letters and registration forms. So it depends upon the region where we are submitting our the dossier. But module 2, module 3, module 4, and module 5, these 4 modules are in line or in our world, it is acceptable format for these 4 modules. So where exactly our DMF comes in those modules? So our DMF is mainly focuses on the module 3. So what is module 3? Module 3 is majorly qualitative document where you give the information of the drug substance. Drug substance means the active pharmaceutical ingredient, and it is also short form called as a DS and or DMF. And the second part is DP, that is drug product, that is finished dosage form. So our major focus of DMF will come under module 3. Then after giving detailed information about module 3, we need to give its summary in the module 2. It is called as a QoS. QoS means quality overall summary, where we give an abstract or a summary of whole document. If you see, the DMF is around 700 to 800 pages of document, and same pages of document for the drug product. I am not considering the bioequivalence studies. Bioequivalence studies also again 1000 paper of document. So when you consider any registration dossier, it will covers about 1000 to 2000 pages of the document. So consider any reviewer, he is not able to check each and every page. So there are they have prepared certain departments, and now AI is also coming. So they just check through software each and every document, and whatever information you are giving under module 3 should be matched with the module 1, module 2, module 4, and module 5. Are you getting? So Major focus or our DMFs comes under the module 3 and QAS part. So what are the main sections of this API DMF? So as I mentioned that it comes under the drug substance part. It is called as 3.2.s sections. So S1 is the general information. As its name suggests, general information. It gives the general information about that API. Then S2 is the manufacture, how it is manufacturing. And that is the main part of that DMF. What we can say, what is the main organ of in our whole body? We consider it as a heart. Same way, for the DMF, S2, it is the main heart of the DMF. And this is the main section which gives that closed part of DMF and open part of DMF. Means the confidential information which API manufacturer don't want to disclose it other than FDA. It comes under S2, that is manufacturer part. Okay. Third is the characterization. As its name suggests, characterization. If I give you 3 byte, your regular atta, which is we used in our day-to-day kitchen, it is also white color. Maida is also white color, and paracetamol powder is also white color. If any API vendor gives these 10 gram powders in a polythene bag, how you will come to know that which powder is of paracetamol? So it should be characterized. Now there should be some testing methods. That part comes under this characterization. So control of the drug substance. As its name suggests, in this, manufacturer has given the control procedures, how the drug substance should be verified, how the drug substance should be analytically tested, what are their certification, what is their justification, what is their validations. Okay. Next is the reference standard. Whenever you give any other product, there should be standard. Means there is always a one innovator. You prepare your product taking into consideration about that standard. So it is called as a reference standard. There are the active ingredient standards are mentioned. So you validate your API through that reference standards. Again comes the container closure system. As I rightly mentioned that packaging material is very much integral part or important part how you package your product. So that is also covered in the DMF. And as the name suggests, last one is the stability. Stability means if you are mentioning that my paracetamol API is valid for 4 years. On what basis? Because all over the world, if you can see, the Greenland, Finland, or in US FDA, temperature conditions are vary. But in African region, temperature conditions are vary. Take our India. Kashmir temperature is different and Pune's temperature is different. So, if the API manufacturer who is manufacturing paracetamol API in the Kolkata, and if you want to give his product for the people living in Pune only and people living in Kashmir also, so how you will justify that key in these different time zones, different temperature conditions, your finished product or API is stable? So for this particular question, we do this stability testing. Okay, so we will go in detail for each point. So as S1 deals in the general information, under the general information, generally we give the nomenclature. Nomenclature means if paracetamol, if you applies through the British Pharmacopoeia, it is mentioned as a paracetamol. But if you refer USP, United States Pharmacopoeia, it is mentioned as a acetaminophen. So whenever you are submitting a DMF, all the documents should have the same nomenclature. Means if you are filing paracetamol by USP, then your DMF should mention acetaminophen USP, not paracetamol USP. They will reject that file. Nomenclature should be as per the international accreditations given. Are you getting? Then this information gives under that nomenclature what is the INCLs, means internationally approved name, what is the CAS number, that is the chemistry abstract system number, which is given for each and every chemical. Then what is its IUPAC name, what is its general name, that all comes under this nomenclature part. Then structure. Each and every chemical has their unique structure. So that structural information we gives under this point. Also, we give information about the molecular formula, molecular weight, then properties. Properties means general physical descriptions or physical properties we generally use. What is its description or appearance, how this powder looks like, are they comes in crystal format, are they comes in the granular form, are they comes in the powder form, this kind of general appearance. Then its solubility, its pH, its melting point, boiling point, this kind of physical observation comes under these properties. So mainly come to core part, that is the manufacture, that is the closed part of DMF. So what is closed part and what is open part? As I mentioned, open part is the information which the finished formulation, means paracetamol tablet manufactured by the ABC Pharma, can access this much information from the registration dossiers. Which information? What are the, means where exactly the API is prepared, that manufacturing site details, the just tentative process flow chart, and the tentative information in very brief information about manufacturing process. So this comes under the open part. Then what comes under the closed part? So in closed part, important manufacturing details, because whenever everyone cannot prepare same kind of idli. Sometimes there is a, though your RM is good, though your API is good, there is certain points are there. Because of that, idli didn't get spongy. So there should be some, there is some method to how you ferment the batter. So that process is the important part. So there is some important manufacturing details given under this S2. What are the important manufacturing details? Like the starting material. Which starting materials you are using for manufacturing of the paracetamol? Which reagents and solvents you are using? How is the manufacturing process controls are taken? Which are the critical steps? In which environment you are taking? What is the temperature condition? What are the humidity conditions? Which instruments you are using? How you are mixing those starting materials with the reagents and everything? Then what is the reprocessing, reworking? Then all these things once finalized, they give the process validation. So what is process validation? Process validation is that in our pharma industry, you authenticate your manufacturing process by doing this same kind of process 3 times. You finalize one process, you taken that process from one batch, then again you prepare 3 batches, and same procedure is followed. Same process, same manufacturing equipment, same materials, same testing methods, everything is cross-checked at the sampling points. And after that, we validate that yes, we have done the same process 3 times and we are getting the accurate results up to our specified limits. So whatever method we are following is validated. It is called as a manufacturing process validation. Okay. So next is the manufacturing process development. It is also very much internal or R&D kind of thing, where we the API manufacturer give detailed information how he is manufactured the finished API products. Okay. So moving to next is the characterization. So I forgot one point. Why this manufacturer S2 part is more important? Because which starting material, reagent, solvent or manufacturing process, it gives raise to the impurity profile. Means there are certain materials like you know about or you have heard about the nitrosamine impurities. So some kind of reagents or residual solvent you used for the purification of these APIs, which finally lead to the impurities. So this part is very much important. and you need to choose the starting material, reagents or solvents very thoroughly to minimize the impurity profile. Okay. So next is the characterization or structural elucidation. In the structural elucidation, as I mentioned to you, if you get three samples, one is having the gehu atta, one is having maita, and one is having this paracetamol, how you differentiate? So there are certain process that is like your infrared, in IR, your UV, your NMR, your MS, all these technicalities gives you the proper structure identification that yes, this molecule or this powder is of paracetamol because it complies with the structure which is related to the paracetamol. So this information we covers under the structural elucidation. Then comes the major important part, that is the impurity profile. As you know, impurity is any component present in the drug substance other than the API. Means the extra substance which is not very much useful or giving the positive or plus points to that API. It is impurity. So impurities comes of 4-5 types. Organic impurities. What are the organic impurities which are generated during the synthesis? Means, as I mentioned, which starting materials you are used, which are intermediate forms, which are the byproducts forms. These are process related impurities. Then inorganic impurities means because of these starting materials or internal in chemical reaction occurs, what are the inorganic impurities we observe? That comes here. Residual solvent, the solvents like you use the acetone or acetone, isopropyl alcohol or other residual solvent during manufacturing, they have certain limits. So they should be in that particular limit only after the finished product analysis. Then the elemental impurities like the heavy metals and the nitrosamine impurities means if you are using any amines, then it's related may lead to the nitrosamine assessment. We need to do that. We need to cross check that. So these are the major focus is given on the impurity profile in this section. Moving to next is the S4, that is the control of the drug substance. So this section describes mainly the specification. Specification means what are the test parameters are given for this particular product. If it is official in any pharmacopoeia, then pharmacopoeia already has this test, like they have given identification, description, solubility, its residual solvent, sulfated ash, assay testing, everything. So this specification given under this, then analytical procedures we are using for the testing. Again, same way, how manufacturing process is validated, same way we do the validation of the analytical method. But in this case, we are not using the three batches. Analytical method validation is done only for one batch. So after the results are, we are getting the results up to the mark. We mention that yes, this method is validated. If suppose the API is already official in the pharmacopoeial method, then we generally do the system suitability. Means only 2-3 parameters of the analytical method validation are being tested and the reports being produced. So batch analysis result. Here again 3 batches results are given. So if we are doing any activity 3 times, we validate yes, that activity is official or approved. Then justification. Justification means if you are testing any material and you are using certain kind of process for that, you need to give the justification for this process. If it is official, then we directly mention that yes, it is official in the British Pharmacopoeia, we are using the same process, so the process is justified. But if you are done the in-house testing, then you need to do the analytical method validation for each and every test. Okay. So next is the reference standard. This section provides the information on the reference standard used for the testing and controlling of the API. So what is reference standard? It's a highly characterized material used as a benchmark or standard for analytical testing. As I previously mentioned, there should be one standard. So reference standard is a benchmark standard we are testing for our API. Next is the container closure system. So in this container closure system, this section describes the packaging material we are using for packing of the API throughout its shelf life. So it gives the primary and secondary packaging. What is primary and secondary? Primary packaging means which is comes directly in contact with that API. And what is secondary packaging? Means first of all your material is packed in a polythene bags, and after that it placed in a LDPE drums. So LDPE drums comes as a secondary packaging, and polythene bag which is directly come in contact with the API is a primary packaging. Same case for the finished dosage form paracetamol tablet packed in a blister. So aluminum foil will be primary packing, and it comes in a carton. So that carton is a secondary packaging. Are you getting my points? So next is the stability data. So stability data gives us assurance that yes, our product is stable for 36 months, 48 months, 50 months, whatever it is, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years. Okay. So this is the most critical section because it retests the period or gives the shelf life approval for your product. So mainly we do the testing of certain parameters, not each and every parameters. The parameters which are defined, mainly chemical testing parameters are involved in the stability testing because they have major impact on the shelf life of the product. What are they? That is the identification, assay testing, water content, physical characteristic, impurity profile. And we are doing this for long term and accelerated. The temperature condition are 25 to 60, and for accelerated 40 to 75. The long term it is for up to the shelf life. Means suppose your product we are claiming that up to 3 years we are getting result for above mentioned test up to their specification limits, then we say that yes, our product is having shelf life or expiry up to 36 months. But the manufacturer need to keep that product for 48 months to assure that up to 36 months it is stable. And accelerated is the given at accelerate conditions where you can say see 40-degree and 75 humidity. So it is for up to 6 months. So both these parameters were tested and finalized the shelf life or expiry date for the finished product. Now this is whole for the type 2 products, type 2 DMF. Same way, same kind of information is given for packaging material also and the excipient type 4 also. So in the type 3 DMF, as we mentioned, packaging material is intended for use, means how your packaging material is prepared. If we are packed our API in the polythene bag, then what is the material of that polythene bag? What is its composition? Which are the suppliers? From where you have taken that data? Is the toxicological studies done on that packaging material? Each and everything is given in that DMF. And it is the responsibility of that, like in DMF, it is the whole responsibility of the packaging material manufacturer who is manufacturing that material. Okay. Next is the type 4 DMF, which comes excipient, colorants, and flavor. Now, it is also deals in the confidential information related to the excipient, colorant, flavor, preservatives, coating materials, which are the additives or excipient used in the drug product. So it also gives a detailed information about the composition, manufacturer, quality control, specification, stability of those materials. So this type 4 DMF ensure that the excipient or colorant or flavor which you are used in the finished drug formulation are passing the quality safety parameters and have the regulatory compliance while protecting the confidential manufacturing know-how. Okay, moving to next. This is the type DMF, which is not majorly popular. So it is a special or miscellaneous information comes in under the drug master file. It is used when the material or information you want to submit doesn't fit in the other DMFs. Means the extra information which is more important, but it is not addressed in the type 2, type 3, and type 4. Then you need to give that special and miscellaneous information under the type 5 DMF. Mainly it comes dealings in clinical studies, toxicological data, and other information asked by the FDA. So moving to next, we have finalized or we have discussed about what is DMF. But now you understand that DMF is the file which is prepared by the active pharmaceutical ingredients, and it is given by that file contains all the information about how that material is prepared, tested, preserved, and its stability and everything. But now, how you submit that to the ministry? So we will first check the US FDA DMF submission process. It is called as ESG, that is Electronic Submission Gateway. So as you can see, first you need to prepare the DMF as per the norms. Then you need to do the ECTD compilation because US FDA approves the ECTD compilation. Then you need to do the ESG registration, that is the registration on their website. Then you need to submit your file. The FDA acknowledges your file, review, and if there is deficiency, they let you know. Then they give you the time frame that within 180 days you need to give us this information about the deficiencies. They give you time period also. You need to compile your documentation on that deficiency basis, and you need to submit the data within that time frame only. Otherwise, your application got rejected. In European Union strategy, means in EDQF, there is a CEP route. CEP means Certificate of Suitability. It is preferred for many APIs. Means European Pharmacopoeia generally means Europe countries generally follows the EP, that is European Pharmacopoeia. So whatever the API they want to you want to supply in their country, or you finished product manufacturer want to supply finished product in the European countries, mainly they need to check if that product or that API is official as per European Pharmacopoeia. They must need to follow the European Pharmacopoeia method instead of USP, IP, PP, USP or International Pharmacopoeia. They need to follow, or they need to give first preference to EP. So in this case also the Europe health authorities comes for the audits. They cross-check at the manufacturer site each and every minute detail about the manufacturing of the APIs, its testing process, are they following each and every rules and regulation which comes under the GMP norms, and after that they give you the CEP certificate. CEP certificate is the document where they give you a certain kind of number that yes, we have validated each and every document of you at your site, and we are giving approval of your manufacturing of this kind of material, and you can submit your DMF, or your DMF is approved at our EDQM site with this number. And when I want to, if suppose the ABC Pharma, which is based at Pune, want to register their product at EDQM site or Europe region, he must have this CEP number with him if he want to go to register his product from that XYZ Pharma. Okay. So here in US FDA, it is called as a DMF. In EU, it is called as ASMF. ASMF means Active Substance Master File. And it has again the applicant part and restricted part. This is WHO API Master File. So what is WHO API Master File? So WHO pre-qualification programs are there. Like you must aware about the UNICEF, which is related to the children's well-being and everything. So internationally, there are some agencies, procurement agencies. They have some World Health Organization pre-qualification programs. Means WHO has some programs or pre-qualification schemes where overall for the world, they establish certain agencies, and these agencies supplies medicines through these health programs all over the world. So WHO pre-qualification program, that is PQ, primarily focuses on the medicines used for the HIV, AIDS, TB, malaria, hepatitis, or other essential medicine. Like in COVID case, all over the world, these medicines are given by the health authorities, FDAs, because it comes under this International Procurement Agency's World Pre-Qualification Program. Understood? So, for finalizing these medicines also, the API vendor need to give all this information of the API. That is active pharmaceutical ingredient master file, GMP evidence, stability data and validation data. Same way the finished product manufacturer also give his dossier to the WHO site. Okay. So what are the DMF requirements across the market? So in USA region, it is called as a DMF, as we checked. In Europe, it is called as a ASMF or CP. In UK, it is again called as ASMF, Active Substance Master File. In Health Canada, it is called as a Master File. In Australia, TGA, it is mentioned as Drug Master File, and it also somehow follows the same norm as per the Europe, that is CP. In South Africa, it is again called as the Active Pharmaceutical Ingredient Master File, WHO, APIMF. In Gulf region, they call DMF and also follows or keep a standard as a Europe. So they also have the somehow similar requirement like a CEP. In Africa, it is a country specific. So all these DMF has the same 1 to 7 points which we discussed earlier, but the way of presentation, way of submission at their portal, way of submission of the documents, and their approval process is somehow different, or else the information you provide in the DMF is similar. So global submission strategy. What is the how is the global submission strategy? Suppose the API vendor want to register his DMF. He first identify the target markets. Means he want to go to US market. He want to go to EU market. He want to go to ROW market, GCC market or Africa market. That first we need to identify. Then we need to do the customer expectation and gap assessment. Means if I want to go to US FDA, the US FDA norms are very stringent. Then I need to follow the USP. If I want to go to Europe market, then I need to follow the CEP. So according to that basis, you need to develop the drug master file. You need to develop the drug master file document. Then you need to prepare the regional adaptation. Regional adaptation means I told you about the submission process. There are the different websites of that particular country, and you need to define according to the submissions. You need to pay the fees. You need to follow the their what we can say, the audits and inspections. Then you need to fee various types of fees and everything. And step 5, you need to maintain a single global data package. Means suppose I have the paracetamol, but I want to go to for global, means for US FDA also and EU also. Then for filing the document with EU, I must need to prepare a document with the paracetamol name. And for filing the US, I must need to follow the acetaminophen name. So I can do the both two studies because it is a very fast document and lots of studies involved in it. So in this case, I can search out or I can look out one prominent thing that yes, whatever the material I will do the testing from both pharmacopoeias. So it will give me a more bifurcation period or more easily hand for submissions, because I can prove that my material passes EP also, my material passes USP also. So these are the technical norms which you can discuss with the health ministries when you define any of your product. So in the administrative information, as I mentioned, EU has their different submission, US has their different submission, but the difference is related to their authorization fees or some certain administrative documents. Rest of the things comes similar. So here you needs to the mention the DMF holder means the XYZ Pharma who is manufacturing the API, their headquarters, their manufacturing facility addresses. Then in the FDA correspondence means FDA person want to contact up with you XYZ Pharma related to your DMF, then whom they should contact. If you have appoint any agent in the US FDA, then you need to mention that agent name, or you need to mention the one or two persons name, their mobile numbers and their email IDs for FDA correspondence. Then there is a specific responsibilities of each person listed in any of the categories of section A. Section A is again one form which is mentioned on their sites. Then we need to give the various statement of commitments. Statement of commitments means you file that those DMF, but certain after 6 months, 8 months, there might be changes. You feel that you need to do in that drug master file. Then you need to commit to the health ministry that whenever there is a single line of change in the excipient, in the starting material, in the manufacturing process, we will inform you. That document we need to submit. Then DMF goes through two stages. First, FDA assesses whether all parts of the DMFs are included and are they in the correct order. Then FDA determines that EDMF is acceptable. Then they do the administrative review, what we have discussed about. Then the DMF, if suppose DMF is not acceptable, some of the letters or covering letters you haven't given, then they inform that through that correspondence address to you that yes, your file has some deficiencies and you need to file the query reply for say. If the DMF passes the administrative review and found to be acceptable, Office of Pharmaceutical Quality OPQ sends an acknowledgement letter for review and technical content. However, if the DMF is not acceptable, then OPQ sends an administrative filing issues. Issues later they will generate for your application. And there is again give time frame. This time frame varies upon the deficiencies. So what is ECTD publishing? So for ECTD publishing for the DMF, you must be aware of those softwares. Like previously, we do the MSCIT course to understand how this presentation, Microsoft Word or Excel is working. Now, if you want to be pro in the ECTD publishing, then you must be aware about the Lawrence, DocuBridge, and Global Submit softwares. So these softwares you must need to take the proper training and proper courses. In this, they help you to understand what is the XML backbone, what is hyperlinking, what is bookmarking, what is validation check, and they help you to guide in the sequence management. So after your graduation or meanwhile, you can also do this kind of courses which are available. So generally, XML backbone, what it does, it manages the relationship between the documents and keep the track over time to time within this submission structure. Hyperlinking, what it does, it enables the reviewers to navigate between those module 2 summary and module 3 detailed report. Validation, it again, as the name suggests, ensures submission passes the technical checks for the formats and links the integrity. So these are the common regulatory deficiencies. Most of the DMF files are done. So they are giving the inadequate process descriptions, means they miss out the steps which are very much clearly important. Then they missing the critical controls. They are giving the incomplete method validation, insufficient impurity qualifications, stability in that they haven't ICH guidelines has given these testing parameters are mandatory. Still your DMF gives the instead of they miss out the identification parameter and they just do the testing for other parameters. This is called as insufficient data. Then if you suppose commits that key, now my shelf life is up to 5 years, but Still now we have completed up to 3 years and we want to submit our DMF, and once our DMF completes up to stability for 5 years, we will submit that data. But you forgot to submit that data. It is called as an inadequate commitment. Your certification, you must keep updating to the ministries about your GMP certificates. Each and every page should be signed, signature should be mentioned, formatting should be done, and the data should be linked with each other. These are the common regulatory deficiency mostly observed. This is the life cycle. What exactly life cycle? So a DMF is a living file. How we are living persons. Same way, the DMF is a living file for any health ministry. And this living file you must be maintained throughout is the shelf life. Then only that FDA will keep your file as in alive state. What it means if you have done any changes in the manufacturing process, analytical method, then supplier must submit that data as an amendment to the FDA. They must update to the FDA that yes, we have done some variation and we are filing these variation or amendments. They must, in the US, DMF holder must submit a report every year to keep the file active if no changes were done. And if DMF holder fails to update the authority about the changes or about the annual reports, then FDA will share you email for that key. Yes, you are not submitting your annual reports, you are not submitting any variations, you are not informing us have you done any changes or not done, that we need to mention them after their email comes or proactively. And if still we didn't reply to them, then FDA just simply make your status as an inactive and you can't sell your product or you can't show your DMF approval at their site. So it is called as a DMF life cycle. Next is the global regulatory variations, that is US FDA versus EMA pathways. EMA means European agencies. US FDA, as name suggests, US FDA agency. So in US it is called DMF, in Europe it is called as ASMF. There is a single confidential file. In EMA it is applicant's part and restricted part. In US FDA you need to file through the GDU FFO website or their portal. It is called as a US FDA Generic Drug User Fee Amendment. You need to register on that site, and after that you will be able to file the fees. In EMA, it is generally linked with the marketing authorization fee, and on that basis you can file your regulatory charges over there. So here it is, they issues the letter of authorization in US FDA, and in EMA they give you CEP or the letter of access. So what is the letter of authorization? It is called as a golden ticket. Why it is called as a golden ticket? Because letter of authorization or some regions letter of access is a formal document issued by the DMF holder, means the XYZ Pharma, which is manufacturing the product. It issues the letter of authorization to a pharmaceutical company and the regulatory authority to use and review their DMF file without revealing the disclosed part of DMF information. Means the XYZ Pharma gives Pune manufacturing facility one letter of authorization that you can use our information and our material for filing your final dossier of paracetamol tablets. So there is a it is hardly two or 3 pages document where it is mentioned DMF number, API number, the DMF holder name and address, and the applicant name and address, means the finished product manufacturer name and address, regulatory authority name, authorization statement, and signature and dates. What is CEP and DMF? As we mentioned that CEP is the certificate of suitability to European pharmacopoeia. Means whenever you want to submit your DMF through a European folder, then you must follow the means you must need to give the preference to the EP, European Pharmacopoeia. And then if suppose product is not official, then you need to follow USP or International Pharmacopoeia. So they called as a certificate of suitability. It is in US FDA, it is called as a drug master file and issues the LOA. So issuing authority for the CP is EDQM, that is European Directorate for the Quality of the Medicines, and it is in DMF. It is directly submitted to the US FDA portal. The purpose is that, as mentioned, CEP must follow with the PHEUR. PHEUR means European Pharmacopoeia, short form of that. In DMF, it must follows with the manufacturing and the quality information provided by the US Pharmacopoeia, International Pharmacopoeia, BP Pharmacopoeia, any what is official. The applicable region for CEP is mainly Europe and the countries which are making standard as a Europe or follows the Europe norms. In DMF, USA, Canada, WHO, Japan, Korea, these are the SRA countries which follows the DMF, where they are agreeing upon the USA, United States Pharmacopoeia, International Pharmacopoeia norms. So manufacturing process details in CEP never disclosed with the applicant. In DMF, if letter of authorization given by the DMF holder, they can share with us that close part of DMF. Review, it is conducted by the EDQM. In DMF, it is conducted by the particular health authority, like if in US FDA, in Australia by TGA. Renewal and maintenance, you need to do the annual declaration and update for both. Submission format, it is one by EDQM site and one by the particular country's website and their folder websites and their particular access given to by that health ministry after submission of the regular fees. So what are the regulatory affairs professionals role in the DMF management? So when we are a professional, we submit the finished product dossier means paracetamol tablet 500 mg dossier to the US FDA site. We have a one-to-one communication with that health authority. We need to coordinate with the health authority if we have submitted all the documents are correct or not. Then if they raises a query, they raises query to you and also side by side to the DMF vendor. Then you need to coordinate with the DMF vendor and professionals. They need to coordinate with the DMF vendor professional also, and on basis or on behalf of us, we need to file that submission. So we need to manage all the submission. We need to keep on updates about where actually our application is. Have the ministry review it. Does they raises any query? Does they want any legal documents? That we need to cross check throughout the agencies or throughout the agents who we are over there or directly by communicating with the health ministries. Then we need to handle the deficiency responses. We need to communicate with the customers and track the global requirements. So RA plays a major role in the DMF management, though DMF is submitted by the API vendor. So what are the emerging regulatory trends? Means nowadays nitrosamine is a very much popular term and majorly focus given on this risk management of nitrosamine. Also the data integrity compliance means the information which you have given in the DMF module 3, same information should be in your QoS part, that is the module 2 part. Then you must have the awareness about the electronic submissions. Your file should be correlate with the QPD based development. You must include all those points under your DMF, which are official as per the QPD designs. Then there should be continuous manufacturing. It is not like that you submitted your DMA in the US FDA and after that for 2 to 3 years you didn't manufacture those material at your facility. they won't allow it. They will simply reject your file because they want that ki once you file your DMF to our authority, you must follow those rules and you must continuously manufacturing that API. Okay. And now there are certain tools related best practices you people can do or any manufacturer supplier can do. They need to maintain a global master drug master file. Global master drug master file means, as I mentioned, that you need to prepare paracetamol by BP also and acetaminophen by USP also, so that whenever there is a requirement, you can submit your file to both countries. There should not be you need to do from a scratch if you have a requirement for the filing your product at USA. So whenever the drug master file manufacturer need to cross check the requirements. In previous slide we saw that what exactly you need to cross verify. You need to check yes, what exactly we need to do the filing only for country specific or taking into consideration all the global requirement, and we need to prepare one master document which can submit at any country. Understood? Always use the CTD format from the beginning. Then conduct the periodic gap assessment, like now nitrosamine risk assessment is mandatory for the DMF filing. You need to do the impurity profiling. You need to do the elemental analysis or assessment for filing the impurities, heavy metals. So monitoring the regulatory update continuously. Whenever there is any regulatory update comes, it is officially announced on their particular websites. So we need to have a hands-on experience of handling those websites. So and also we need to update our knowledge every time. And if there are some certain changes we have done, we should have the change control system and we should take a track of those changes. So what are the future trends related to artificial intelligence in the submissions and the shift of the identification of medicine product or medicinal product? Means now the world of the DMF is evolving towards the structural data, means and automated regulatory intelligence. Means previously there, if you see any health authority, they have that paper format. Means we need to file the documents in the hard copies, and there are long in our Indian governments. If you see, there are multiple files were kept year and years. Same way for regarding this registration dossier, previously it was practice. You need to submit the documents in hard copies, but now it is switched to this ECTD software, means electronic submissions. So this transition is making effortless to analyze the time period, to minimize the risk, and to get the maximum outputs in minimum time period. And the real-time review is becoming more easier for the health authorities now to take a control of any document which is comes to at their filing process. Okay. So what are the careers? Means in regulatory affair is the most stable and high paying career path in the pharmaceutical industry, because as I mentioned, various industries are there or various pharmaceutical companies are there which are doing the export business. And for whenever you want to do a export business in any of the country, you need to file the registration dossier. So as a mandatory, if you have a quality control department in your facility, then you must have the RA department also there. If you want to wish to register your product in any export or any international market, because this is the only department who is in contact with the health authority and the finished product manufacturer. This is the department which files those documents and submit to the ministry. And into that, if you have expertise in the DMF, then you have a plus point, because you can compile the final dosage form also and you can compile the API form also. because as previously we saw that key, whenever there are queries related to finished dosage form, related to DMF, they inform you also. They inform the finished dose manufacturer that we have observed this type of deficiencies in your submitted drug master file, and they also side by side inform to the DMF vendor also. So the person who is having knowledge about the finished product and the API means DMF, then he has a plus point in the career growth. Are you getting my point? So regulatory affairs is the bridge role. They act as the link between R&D, manufacturing, and the government. They companies pay a premium for the experts who can navigate ECTD technicalities and the global submission strategies. There is a regular continuous growth. It is not a particular 9 to 5 kind of job or a particular kind of job. There is a, you need to update your skills because ministry is updating their websites. They are updating the new changes in any of the indications, any of the formulations or related to the various trends coming into the picture. So they are updating their websites on that trends basis because nowadays various different diseases are coming. So we need R&D people find the solutions for this, and according to that basis, whatever the health ministries, they prepare a new guidelines or new norms for the final submission of the documents. So there is a continuous growth process. Suppose now we will see a simple study that we have already discussed actually. If a API manufacturer wants to file US DMF or EU DMF and also want to participate in the WHO tenders, that is UNICEF tender we saw. So what document he should must follow? What strategy should be he followed? And what are the, you think there are regulatory risks? Because as I mentioned to you, that paracetamol is in European pharmacopoeia or in BP, it has a paracetamol name, and in USP, it has acetaminophen name. But a vendor who want to make a dossier that is of DMF for filing for US also, EU also, and side by side, he want to take a participation in the WHO tenders. Then how he should proceed further? So first he should check the overall the core CTD DMF requirements. Means he need to file his product or he need to compile his dossier or DMF as per the CTD norms, and he should apply for the EDQM side to get the CEP. Means he should follow the EP pharmacopoeia, and in same file he should do the testing for the as per USP, so that he can file his document along with the CEP to the US FDA sites also. And by taking this document, he should go to the WHO audits or the WHO site for this application in the tenders. So he should prepare his file in such a way that whenever in globally, any country if ask any information, that information must be there in his file. Because any ministry or any health authority, they didn't restrict you to give the extra information. There is our risk that if we are giving extra information, that information should be authenticated. So if you are filing DMF to US FDA and you are giving that yes, this product is also complies with the EP monograph, and EP monograph have identified another impurities. So you should do the impurity profiling for that particular studies also. Because impurity profile is a very vast area. Lot of documents and lot of testing is done over there. So whenever you are filing or your documentation should be in that way that you can file your document at any country. So you should be aware about all those norms. Are you getting? So what we are generally discussed in all these slides, that DMF is critical, yet integral part of the global pharmaceutical business. Global pharmaceutical business means the registration dossiers, because you can export your finished product only and only when your product dossier is registered at that particular country. And for product registration dossier, DMF is the important part. Without DMF, maybe it is of API, maybe it is of packing material, maybe it is of excipient colorants, you cannot finalize your registration dossiers. So majorly focus is given on the DMF part. So strong technical document is essential to reduces the review cycles. Means what we are checked at the US FDA side, that they will do your thoroughly first review of your DMF filing is as per CTD norms or not, and then they will check your administrative document. So whatever technical documents you are giving, you must follow that S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6, and S7. Understood? And ECTD knowledge is now becoming mandatory. You must aware about those ECTD softwares. DocuBreeze, Lawrence, or multiple softwares are there. You must aware of that. You can take a course of any one software and the similar. Only minimal changes are there in another company's software. At least you get have the basic idea about the XML and the hyperlinking. You will come to know, or it will be easier for you to do the ECTD submissions. Life cycle management is equally important. As you remember the slide where 1, 2, 3 was mentioned, life cycle management means your file should be active. You should give information about what are changes you are making in your original old file. If you haven't informed anything to the US FDA or website of EU or any other portal, then they will consider that you are not manufacturing that API. You are not responding to their queries, and they will simply make your status as an inactive. And then you need to scratch from the audit point of view. They will again come to audit your facility, then again they will give you some certain audit point of view, certain observation. You need to file that observation, then you need to do the submission of your DMF. So it is a vast and long term process. So you should be must aware about this life cycle management, and you should update to the ministry day to day, or whenever there is any updations, okay, or annually once. So global strategy improves the submission success. What I told you about the EP and USP monographs. So this global strategy means your file should be, you can submit all over the world in any country. You must be so sure that what information you are giving under that file is authenticated. Okay. So a well-prepared DMF reduces the review deficiency. So these are the certain type of questions I have means these are normal questions. If there are some other questions you have, we can discuss that also. So what is the difference between DMF and CEP? Is the DMF mandatory for the API registration? What are the most common DMF deficiencies? How often should DMF be updated? What is the letter of access? What is the CEP? What are the types of the DMF? These are the mainly questions are asked in your interview, or you should be thoroughly aware about when if you are filing any DMF. Okay, so we will just go through this. So what is the difference between DMF and CEP? DMF contains the detailed confidential information submitted to the authorities, while CEP certificate issued by the EDQM confirming compliance with the European Pharmacopoeia, right? Is a DMF mandatory for API registration? Yes, it depends, though it depends upon the country, it is mandatory for the API registration, because many markets accept it in the form of CEP, some markets in the form of ASMF, some markets in the form of APIMF, but it is mandatory. What are the most common DMF deficiency that we have seen in the previous file? that there are some certain important steps which are not given in the manufacturing process details, that is 3.s.2, which is the close part. Then also there are certain types of queries mostly arises for the impurity control, analytical method validation, and the stability data. So these 4 5 points you thoroughly cross check and give maximum data with authenticity in the dossier filing. So how often should be DMFs updated? As we checked, whenever there is a significant change means in the related to manufacturing process, related to the starting materials, residual solvents, or related to the there is updation in the monograph of that API, then you need to update that in the DMF. And if you are updating that in the DMF, you need to mention to the ministry for that. So DMF should be updated once there are significant changes or according to the regional requirements. Means as US FDA inform you that annually you need to submit the reports this way. So what is the letter of access? So letter of access is the document authorizing the regulatory authorities to review the confidential DMF information. Means letter of access is the authorized document given by the authorities to review the confidential DMF information. So letter of access is given by the CEP holders, right? Because here DMF is comes in the two part, open part and closed part. So if the letter of access is issued, the DMF vendor can give that access, regulatory authority can give access, and you can check the close part of information. But once and only the letter of access is available to you. Understood? So is there any points or anybody want to have any questions? Hello?
Hello, ma'am.
So anybody is having any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Now we move forward to the question answer session from the participants.
Okay.
First of all, we sincerely thank Mrs. Vaishali Pokharkar for her insightful session and for sharing her valuable knowledge and experience in regulatory affairs. We now invite participants to ask their question and share their queries. So we will wait for a moment, ma'am, for the additional question from the audience.
Sure.
Yes.
Hope
Please.
they have enjoyed this session. It is not that much means we cannot just include this much type of vast information this short period of time. But still, I've managed. Let's see if students have understood or not.
Yes, ma'am. Audience, please feel free to post your question in the chat box. We will address as time permit. We will wait just a moment, ma'am.
Sure.
Yes.
If they want, I can share this presentation with you. So if they want to learn from this presentation, they can have access of that also.
Yes, ma'am, sure. So, anyone
Okay,
have
no
any
issues.
question, please?
No issues. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So, thank you everyone for your active participation.
My pleasure.
I hope we have tried to identify all queries. Further, I would again to thanks Mrs. Vaishali Pokharkar madam for being the speaker for the webinar series. Now, I would like to request our organizing team to kindly share the e-certificate on this virtual platform with our respected speaker as a token of our appreciation. Now, moving towards the conclusion, I would like to present the vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Good Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Pharmacy, I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you making today's session of the National Webinar Series on Regulatory Affairs a grand success. First and foremost, I would like to sincerely thank our esteemed speaker, Mrs. Vaishali Pokharkar, for taking the time to share her valuable insights and experiences. Your expertise and practical knowledge provided valuable insights into the DMF preparation and global submission strategies, helping participants better understand real world aspects of regulatory affairs. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to our principal and convener, Dr. N.S. Vavhare sir, and our co-convener, Dr. Shilpa Chaudhary ma'am, for their constant guidance, vision, and support, which have been instrumental in organizing this webinar series successfully. A special thanks to IQAC and organizing team for their tireless effort in coordinating this event, ensuring a smooth and engaging session for all participants. I also express a gratitude to all the participants and organizing team for their tireless efforts. I also express my gratitude who have joined us today. Your enthusiasm, questions, and active participations truly made this session interactive and meaningful. Finally, I thank all the technical staff and everyone who contributed behind the scenes to make this webinar possible. We hope that knowledge and insight shared today will guide and inspire you in your professional journey. Once again, thank you all for your time and participation, and we look forward to your continued support in our future events. Lastly, I request all participants to kindly fill out the feedback form and attempt the quiz. The link will be shared with you on the WhatsApp group and in the YouTube chat box also. I request everyone to kindly start their web cameras for a group photo. I request everyone to kindly start their web cameras for a group photos. With this, today's session is concluded. Thank you all for your active participation and valuable presence.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.